Hey there, everyone. Chief Meteorologist Eric Estreva. We have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect until the top of the hour, right at 8 p.m. for Bay County. This is a storm that's rolling right along the Saginaw Bay shoreline and eventually will move into Bay City. The majority of the impacts will likely come from the 60-mile-per-hour winds. We do have some small hail, but there's also some rotation in this storm. So we are keeping with the tornado possible tag. That just means that at any point in time, there is the potential that this storm could strengthen a little bit more and have enough of that rotation to produce a tornado. What we have going on right now, here is the storm. It is now just off to the north of Auburn and Bay City and Coquelin. We are seeing that moving along M13 and also Interstate 75 will eventually move into Bangor and Bay City, as well as Frankenlust and Portsmouth here in the next 15 minutes to half an hour. Where we likely have the worst of the storm is right here where we're starting to see the darker reds and the purples and pinks. That's the hail core. That could be where some of the strongest winds are coming from, and also where we could potentially see upwards of those nickel to penny size hailstones. As of right now, we should keep those below quarter size, which is the size that would likely start to do some damage, some minor damage, but doesn't mean we couldn't see some larger hailstones out of this storm because of the last couple scans of this getting a little bit worse, especially when you start to see some of those brighter purple and pink colors. As we go into our rotation, you can see some broad rotation right here. So we have outbound, which is going away from the radar. So what we're likely seeing is we're likely connected to the northern radar. So up in the Gaylord area. So these winds are going away right here and towards the radar right here. So you can see that broad area of rotation, which is why we do have that tornado possible tag. So it's something that we are definitely going to be watching here for as we move over the next half an hour or so. So once again, severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag in Bay County. This includes the city of Bay City as well as Bangor. Anybody pretty much in central and southern Bay County needs to be on alert for this storm, as it could bring some large hail, strong winds up to 60 miles per hour, and there is some rotation when it comes to that tornado possible tag. Here's that storm. Once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a track on this, let you know when we could potentially have this storm in your community if you are in southern Bay County especially. So I'm going to get an idea of how fast this storm is moving. If you bear with me for 1 second, it's at about 20 miles per hour. So that's a pretty slow mover. Not likely going to cause too much in the way of flooding, but there could be some minor flooding because of the slow movement of this storm system. So we are going to continue to watch and see how this progresses. It is moving into a very humid and warm air mass. So, and this is really the only storm that we're watching on radar in our area. So we are going to continue to monitor this as a result. Here's that storm, and we'll put it off to the south here over, let's say, the next 18 minutes or so. So we have this, and I might actually push this on off a little bit further to the south. So this storm likely going to be into the Hampton area by, I would say, over the next 5 to 10 minutes. That's when the worst of the storm will be happening. Bay City, get ready over the next 10 to 15 for the potential of this storm. Monitor by 7:40, Portsmouth 7:43, and then Merritt by 7:50. But that's also the leading edge of that storm. So I'm going to actually put a track on the core of the storm. So where the worst of the conditions are, we're going to put it right down here over the next few minutes. So the worst of the storm is going to be near Coquelin at 7:45, Monitor by 7:52, and then Frankenlust by 8:04. So this is where the worst of the storm is, the hail and the potential of that damaging wind threat, and also maybe even an isolated or brief tornado. We don't have a tornado warning on it right now, but as we saw with the storm that developed on Saturday, doesn't take much for maybe a brief spin up to happen. That one touched down for 3 minutes and then it was gone. So if you are in the Beaver, Brissett Beach, Tobico Beach, and Three Churches Corner, as well as down here towards Bangor, Bay City, North Williams, Seidlers, and then down through Frankenlust, right along Interstate 75. Be on high alert for the potential of some damage with this storm. As we zoom things out, and once again, we do have this severe thunderstorm warning for Bay County until 8 o'clock local time, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and the potential of upwards of quarter-sized hail is possible to go along with the potential of some rotation in this storm. That's why there is that tornado possible tag, not a tornado warning, but you still should take those tornado precautions as we keep a very close eye on this storm. It's broad rotation. If it gets a little bit stronger, there is the potential of having that quick spin up or a brief spin up tornado happening on our hands. And I'll zoom out and show you that the rest of the area is quiet. It's just this one storm that is becoming a little bit more of a nuisance. So we're going to keep a very close eye on it as a result. If you're just joining us, this is the Bay County storm that potentially will bring some strong damaging winds, quarter-sized hail, upwards of quarter-sized hail, and also the potential of a brief spin-up tornado. As of right now, haven't seen anything on our radar system that would indicate a tornado is becoming a little bit more likely, but you can see that we do have some broad rotation, which is giving us an idea that this storm is pretty strong. So we have the outbound, so going away from the radar, and towards the radar, so you can see that broad rotation over several miles. But if we start to see these colors getting a little bit closer and a little bit tighter, especially the brighter greens and brighter reds, that could indicate the tornado potential going up. The only thing that's in this severe thunderstorm warning is the tornado possible tag. 60-mile-per-hour winds could happen, along with some maybe nickel or penny-sized hail. But what I'm going to actually do, I want to see if we can get the hail size tracker up and see what it says about what is coming out of this storm. So there's that storm right now. Maybe it was a little bit better of a hail producer as it was towards the Pinconning area. You could see that peaking with some of those potentially quarter-sized hailstones, and now it's starting to fall apart a little bit more. So hail potential is the lowest threat that we're experiencing or seeing from this storm system. But still could have some of those smaller hailstones as a result. And where we would likely have the worst of the winds is where we start to see those lighter greens and lighter reds. So pretty much right along Interstate 75, this storm will continue down through Bangor and Bay City. So if you're in those cities or communities, make sure you are seeking shelter, getting into that sturdy building away from those exterior walls and windows would be the best thing that you can do to protect you and those in the home as well. And for those of you wondering why it says tornado possible, there is some broad rotation. If that starts to get a little bit worse, we would have the potential of maybe a brief spin-up tornado. But as of right now, nothing has been reported and nothing currently on radar that is necessarily all that indicative of a brief spin-up. But where we do have some of this rotation right about here, so we're seeing those winds going there and coming back this way. So we have some of that broad rotation that is happening with this storm. You can see over the last couple moments, it is starting to weaken maybe a little bit more. So we may eventually see this storm petering out and not being as big of an issue for us. But one indication that it is potentially starting to weaken is the lowering of the lightning strikes. So you can see that when it started to become in range of our radar, we had maybe about 20 to 30 lightning strikes, and now it's down to about 10 to 15. So when you start to see lower lightning strikes, that's an indication that this storm is potentially weakening, but it is still going to be a heavy rain and potentially damaging wind threat as it does so. So we're going to continue to monitor this storm as a result. And for those of you outside of Bay County, nothing else is happening. So if you are not in Bay County right now and you are worried about the storms, just know that the only severe thunderstorm warning we have is right here in Bay County. And the only storm we have is across Bay County. We also have this little cell of heavier rainfall moving across US 127, but that is not severe and has no lightning or thunder associated with it. Just this cell, which over the last hour has been rolling pretty much right along the Saginaw Bay shoreline here in Bay County. It's a very slow mover, so I'm going to put another track on this. It is only moving off to the south at about 20 miles per hour. So as it currently stands, Bay City, you're starting to see some of that very heavy rainfall. I'm going to put it over the next half an hour, and that will take it into Portsmouth here over the next couple minutes. Williams by 7:48, Mapleton by 7:57, Tittabawassee by 8:05, and Carlton by 8:11. Now, there is the potential that once it moves away from the shoreline, it does weaken. So that is a possibility, and the potential is there. Something that we'll keep an eye on for sure. And they did just shave off the at least northern side of this severe thunderstorm warning. And they also allowed for the drop off of that tornado possible tag. So what they were seeing is exactly what we're seeing. And we do have a weakening of the rotation. So as of right now, the 60-mile-per-hour winds could be happening right around the Three Churches Corners area. And we're going to continue to monitor that. Where we have the worst of the winds is pretty much happening right about here. So if you're just on the west side of Bay City, so between Three Churches Corner and Frankenlust, you potentially could see some of the worst of the winds, Bay City towards Bangor. Some lighter winds, but still very heavy rainfall, dangerous lightning, maybe some small hail coming out of the storm system. So something we are definitely going to be keeping a close eye on right now. But it does appear that this storm is weakening, which is really good news, as we hope we can see this severe thunderstorm warning allowed to expire and potentially maybe even canceled early. But still out there until 8 o'clock local time, 60-mile-per-hour winds and potentially maybe some penny-sized hail. But I would say probably closer to maybe dime or pea-sized hail at this point. And it does look like the storm is weakening. Very good news there. You can start to see some of those purples and pink falling apart. And also just the overall structure of this storm. It's not really looking as good. So if you live in Bay County, still get into that sturdy shelter away from the exterior walls and windows. But know that there is a weakening trend overall to this severe thunderstorm and we may, continue to see it weakening as a result, and it could potentially allow for this severe thunderstorm warning to expire. So we did have some of that rotation that was right across I-75. And now it is starting to get very broad, very weak. So that's why we don't have that tornado possible tag. We are primarily just seeing the threat of damaging winds. What I'm going to do, if you are in Bay County, just know that this severe thunderstorm warning is until 8 p.m. for 60-mile-per-hour winds and some small hail. If any other severe thunderstorm warnings are put into place, we will pop back on here. But as of right now, it does look like this storm is weakening. So that would be good news. If you live across central southern Bay County and potentially even northern Saginaw County, just know that the storm is coming towards you. Dangerous cloud-to-ground lightning, some strong winds, small hail, and also lots of rain is on the way. That'll do it for us when we're continuing to track this severe thunderstorm warning. If any others are put into place and issued by the National Weather Service, we will be right back on here on our Facebook and YouTube.